Now to Ethiopia. Saturday, thousands of people celebrated the 20-year anniversary of the removal of that country's former Marxist leader, Mengistu Hailu Mariam. Supporters of the ruling party, the Ethiopian People's Democratic Party, filled the capital's main square Saturday, waving posters and carrying the picture of Prime Minister Meles Zenawi with the words, "We are proud of you." The day was also in celebration of Zenawi, who came to power in 1991 after his rebel Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, with other groups, toppled Mengistu's brutal regime, ending a 17-year guerrilla war. Mengistu, who fled to Zimbabwe and has been there ever since, rose to power in the early 1970s on the back of a revolution that toppled Emperor Haile Selassie. Mengistu rose up through the party's ranks by eliminating his rivals. He championed Marxist policies that made him popular with the socialist bloc during the Cold War. But life under Mengistu was difficult for many in Ethiopia. A dramatic speech in Addis Ababa in 1977 was seen by many as the start of what later became known as the Red Terror, mass executions by the Derg, as Mengistu's military officials were known, with the bodies of the dead dumped on the streets. Many Ethiopians say Mengistu's ouster brought about freedom.
Freedom is the main thing for a human being. It's on this day which I got freedom and equality. May 28 has enabled me to work at any time I want and live anywhere I like. It was different during the Derg regime.
Life was different during Derg regime. Now we can march to any rally in freedom.
Rather than the celebration, Zenawi focused his speech on the party's efforts to improve Ethiopia's economy. The country is building a $4.7 billion dam project along its Nile waters to try and become a leading power exporter in Africa. The Horn of Africa nation has ignored Egypt's concerns over Nile water usage. Zenawi says he anticipates construction of the first stages of the project to be completed in 2 years.
The Great Renaissance Dam is a dam that broke the power of poverty, powerlessness, and the perception of many that says Ethiopia cannot build any dam on the Nile River basin without a foreign aid and alone. The Renaissance Dam is a milestone for our successful efforts and determination that we are no longer bystanders but owners and beneficiaries of our own natural resources.
While Zenawi is criticized for cracking down on dissent and weakening opposition parties, he has received international praise for guiding the country to double-digit economic growth in the past 6 years. However, some in Ethiopia blame his policies for the rising cost of living and called for an Arab-style day of rage during the celebrations. University professor Merere Gunina, also chairman of the coalition of opposition parties Forum for Democratic Dialogue in Ethiopia, says life is still hard for most people.
Much of the promises made when the EPRF came to power in 1991 miserably failed, especially the most important promises such as democratization of state in the society, improvement of the Ethiopian economy.
Many Ethiopians say they still live in fear of questioning the country's leadership. Street protests erupted after Zenawi's disputed 2005 election win, and more than 200 people were killed in clashes with police. Now, in 2008, Ethiopia's Supreme Court sentenced Mengistu to death in absentia after he was convicted of crimes of genocide. Zimbabwe has refused to extradite him to Ethiopia. Now, with us to provide more background and insight on Ethiopia is Voice of America's Henok Fente. Welcome to In Focus, Henok.
It's good to be here.
What efforts are ongoing to ensure that Mr. Mengistu still faces justice in Ethiopia?
Well, a lot of Ethiopians want Mengistu to face justice because of the Red Terror. He killed tens of thousands of Ethiopians during his reign. But the Zimbabwean government, as we heard, refused to extradite Mengistu, so that has hit a stall when it comes to extraditing him.
Now, this anniversary that we just watched happens every year. How much of it has to do with the celebration of the ouster of Mengistu and the terror he caused, as opposed to moving on and Mr. Zenawi and how he's progressed the country?
For the first 10 years, it had been about ousting Mengistu and being victorious. But I think now time has lagged. They have forgotten about what it was more, it's the future and the present of Ethiopia. So what this means for a lot of Ethiopians is that they have mixed feelings about this. Number one, they have, of course, this is a day that ended the civil war that dragged on and killed hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians. But at the same time, it was a time where Ethiopia lost its access to the sea. It became a country that's landlocked because of the independence of Eritrea.
Right.
And in addition, this is also a litmus test for Ethiopian democracy. We ousted somebody who was in office for 17 years,
yes.
And now we have another person who's governing Ethiopia for 20 years.
But now at the same time, quickly before you go, Mr. Zenawi has gotten mixed reviews. Some really praise the economic progress he's making in the country, while at the same time also criticizing the suppression of the opposition. Where does he stand, really?
When it comes to establishing democratic institutions, the current government is not only criticized, but in practice has done little. And in fact, there are backlashes in terms of democratic progress in the country.
And I have to stop you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Henok
for having
Fente
me.
of VOA's Horn of Africa service. Now, for more information on any of today's stories, please visit us online at voaafrica.com. You can also visit us on Facebook. Just search for In Focus.